Live interactive Weather Authority coverage, sponsored by Rennie's, for your next main adventure, will begin shortly.
Rennie's, a main adventure.
Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage, sponsored by Rennie's, starts right now.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Hope you are having a good one. Hope you've had a good weekend. Of course, it was quite the wintry weekend across the state with the cold temperatures. And for many, in southern Maine at least, Portland southward, first snow of the season yesterday. That was a beautiful one. Very easy to clean up too. Love those kind of events where it doesn't really have too much of an impact on our daily lives, and we just get to enjoy those beautiful winter scenes. Now, we've got another similar system rolling through tonight, but we are keeping our eyes on not only tomorrow for some icy conditions, but also Wednesday and Wednesday night for a Grinch-style storm that is going to bring a lot of rain, potentially some strong winds as well, looking very nasty towards the middle of this week. So yeah, keep that in mind, I would say, for Wednesday and Wednesday night. It does not look like all that great of a situation here for that time frame. So let's jump right into our forecast. We got a lot to talk about, you guys, starting off with the snow tonight. We're going to have a quiet day today. If it's not cloudy where you are right now, which I believe it is in most of the state, it will be turning that way later this morning, and we will remain overcast all the way through the evening. And then we see the snow arriving, likely 6 to 8 p.m. or so is when that snow will move on in, and it quickly becomes steady across the region here with a few inches looking likely. In fact, very similar amounts to what we saw yesterday. So let's talk about our winter weather advisory. All of central and southern Maine included in this. Less so for the snow, more so for the threat for slick travel due to icing that we are likely to see tomorrow. So again, looking very messy out there on Tuesday afternoon, or really through the day tomorrow, with the potential for freezing drizzle and some freezing rain. So again, that black ice, that's why we've got the big concern for slick travel tomorrow. And that comes, of course, on top of some snow that we are expecting tonight. So let's talk about amounts here. Here's what we are expecting from this evening all the way through the very early morning hours tomorrow. 2 to 4 inches for most of us. If you're watching right now wondering how much you're going to get, unless you live right along the ocean, and I mean right along the ocean, it's going to be 2 to 4 inches. Most of us should be able to get 2 inches of snow out of the system. There is one exception to that. If you live along the coast of York County, down in far southern Maine, or even a little bit inland of York County, so Kennebunkport, Wells, York, Ogunquit, all of those spots, probably a bit less snow there, with a coating to an inch or two expected for most, as there will be some mixing with rain down there that will likely cut back our totals a bit. But anywhere really from Portland to the north, to the west, and even off to the east in some cases, it does look like 2 to 4 inches will be the amount that we see. So let's time this out here. We're going to see a quiet day today. Again, through the afternoon, things are looking pretty quiet here. 6 to 8 p.m., and some of us may start seeing this earlier, more towards 5 o'clock, we will see that snow moving on in. You can see it become steady here as we head into the evening hours. This is 9 o'clock. Yeah, it's going to be coming down out there. So if you've got travel plans this evening, keep in mind that there will be likely some very slick, very snow-covered roads across the state, as that snow will be coming down at a pretty good clip. Now, the snow continues through the overnight hours. It wraps up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. And notice how models are not showing much for Tuesday. There will be some freezing drizzle out there. And look at these cold temperatures, 20s, low 30s out there. We will remain below freezing in many spots all day tomorrow. And any drizzle we see will likely lead to some very slick travel. So that is a big concern tomorrow. Also, I would say your back steps, your front steps, your deck, your porch, also likely to be pretty slick as well. I think that almost the bigger concern for tomorrow, not so much the driving, but the walking around sidewalks, of course, decks, patios, that sort of thing, all going to be very icy during the day on Tuesday. So keep that in mind. If you're looking out tomorrow, you notice, oh, the ground just looks wet, or my patio just looks wet. It's probably covered in ice. So keep that in mind. Again, very slick surfaces out there tomorrow. Then we get into Wednesday, and notice temperatures warm up. We get into the 30s and 40s. Steady rain begins on Wednesday morning, and it will continue through the day. Doesn't look too bad during the day on Wednesday. It doesn't look pretty, but it doesn't look damaging or we're not seeing extremely heavy rain during the day on Wednesday. It just looks wet. Looks not very nice, but again, not extreme. Now, this is Wednesday afternoon. Look at these 50s. Yeah, we're going to be near 60 degrees in some parts of Maine as we head into Wednesday evening. So, yeah, this is a Grinch storm, just like what we saw last year, just like what we saw 2 days before Christmas in 2022. Very, very similar setup here. My hope is just that we can avoid the major flooding of last year and, of course, the major power outages as well. And also, I really hope we can avoid the damaging winds, but they do remain a possibility. So again, you got to stay tuned for this one. This one is definitely looking very messy, very nasty, especially Wednesday night. Look at all this heavy rain out there, and there will be some very strong winds as well. And Judy, I've been saying it all morning. Yeah, I would say fuel up the generator. Get it ready just in case, especially if you live along the coastline. You may not end up needing it. I really hope that it's almost a bust for us here and we don't end up needing generators across the state, but there is the decent possibility that you may end up needing it. So yeah, a good idea to get those generators prepped. Great point there, Judy. Looks like a good thing to do in the next couple of days, get those generators ready. Now, we also, again, do have that icing potential tomorrow, not to be discounted. So as we focus on Wednesday, let's not forget that tomorrow likely to be a slick morning commute, potentially in some areas a slick afternoon commute as well, as we will see some of that icing through the day on Tuesday. So let's talk about what we are expecting on Wednesday. That Grinch storm is coming in for Wednesday and Wednesday night. It looks very eerily similar to what we saw last year on December 18th. Many of us watching remember that storm. We remember the impacts that saw. I know a lot of my followers were commenting, asking about that one. Yeah, we really hope to avoid an impact as bad as that, but it does look similar in some ways. In terms of the heavy rain, which is going to be 1 to 3 inches, it looks like coming on top of the snowpack here. Up in the mountains, it's all rain, even there. So flooding is a big concern. The ground is frozen. It's been very cold recently. It's going to be tough for the ground to absorb this. Luckily, we've been very dry. That may help a bit. But again, the ground is frozen. So we could still run into those flooding issues. And also, there is that strong wind threat, especially along the coastline, especially in mid-coast and down East Maine. You're watching from Boothbay, Rockland, over towards Wiscasset even. All of those spots will likely see some very strong winds, and that's where power outages are most likely. The Portland area southward or farther inland, if you're in Augusta, Lewiston, more iffy at this point. There is a scenario where we don't end up getting strong winds in places like Portland, Lewiston, Augusta. So we're keeping our fingers crossed here that in the end, we don't see the strong winds up into the interior of the state. That would really be great if we can avoid that. And of course, hopefully we can be on the low end of our rainfall totals. If we end up with an inch of rain, the impacts will be a lot different than if we saw 2, 3 inches of rain. So you get my gist here. There is a nicer solution to this storm. There is a not so nice solution to this storm. And we're really hoping we end up on the not so bad side of things for Wednesday into Wednesday night. And again, the worst timing of this, it's really all day Wednesday it'll be raining, but Wednesday night or Wednesday evening, this is when it will be the worst. So Becky's asking, Tuesday will be the worst travel day because of icing. Absolutely right, Becky. Tuesday does look pretty messy. Although I will say, as long as the roads are treated tomorrow, shouldn't be too bad out there. Just be aware it's going to be a snowy drive in the morning, and there will be icing conditions in some spots through the day tomorrow. So yeah, lots to talk about. We got the icing potential tomorrow, the snow tonight. We've got the storm on Wednesday and Wednesday night, flooding, and then wind leading to power outages, leading the headlines here. Looks like we are not looking down the barrel here of any major coastal threats at this point. There will certainly be big waves in the ocean, of course. That's always an issue with these kind of storms. Could be some minor coastal flooding. Doesn't look like those January storms, though. With those storms, it came right around the highest tides of the month. Not seeing that with this one. It is not coming at the highest tides of the month. And it doesn't look like the worst conditions line up with the high tide of the day. So I think we're going to make it through this without any major coastal issues. But again, there is the potential at least for some big waves and potentially some minor coastal flooding or splashover. So we'll continue to monitor that potential. But yeah, the wind, the outages, the flooding, that is the biggest threat. And Wendy, it's a little early, I would say, to knock or lock down what the strongest wind gusts will be. But there certainly could be some strong ones, especially along the coastline. So again, heavy rain leading to snowmelt in the mountains. That in turn leads to flooding, strong winds and power outages, mainly along the coast. There is some potential for that to extend into places like Lewiston or Augusta, up into central Maine. So keep that in mind and stay tuned here as we continue to refine this forecast. I'm really hoping we can make it through without a major inland wind event, although at the coastline it does look like we will see some strong winds. So again, the worst conditions are going to be Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, through about midnight, maybe 1, 2 a.m. on Thursday morning. So after midnight, it will likely begin to wrap up on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Another plus might be a best case scenario here would be the cold air gets in a little quicker than it's looking, and the mountains are able to change back over to snow. That would help to reduce some of that flood threat up there. But again, it just looks like a mess Wednesday into Wednesday night. So good day to have some indoor plans, be hunkered down, maybe have that generator ready just in case. Judy's asking about flights. I do believe there will likely be some impacts to flights potentially tomorrow with the freezing drizzle, and certainly Wednesday afternoon and evening with the strong winds and the heavy rain. Very well could be some impacts to flights. So do keep that in mind. Again, she says her daughter arrives from Texas. Keep that in mind. There could be some issues. May go smoothly, but just don't be surprised if there are delays or something like that for Wednesday evening. So let's talk about rainfall here. This is why I'm just so concerned about flooding. This is not a pretty picture for rainfall, considering we've got 2+ feet of snow on the ground in some spots in the mountains, 1 to 3 inches of rain on top of that. Or at least 1 to 2 inches, that would lead to some flooding issues. And again, we want to avoid the washouts of last year. We've got to hope that we can somehow end up on the low end of rainfall totals here. Around an inch wouldn't be too bad. 2 inches plus, that's when we really start to run into issues. So again, stay tuned. Hopefully things trend in a positive direction as we head through the next 24 hours for Wednesday. But again, I would prepare for the worst and hope for the best for this. So very active today, tomorrow, Wednesday. And again, we do have that weather warn for Wednesday afternoon and evening. Look at the temperatures on Wednesday. Every day for the next 7 is around or just below average, except Wednesday, which is going to be very mild into the 50s. And that's why there's going to be a lot of snow melt here. Mild temperatures are expected on Wednesday. Beyond that, quiet weather, at least through Saturday. Sunday may end up turning out to be a little more active, but at this point looking quiet with temperatures in the 30s, back to cold pretty quickly. It's going to be a dramatic turnaround. It's going to be cold tomorrow, warm on Wednesday afternoon and evening, right back to chilly on Thursday with some breezy winds as well. So yeah, lots going on here. Big swings in temperature, a big storm on Wednesday, snow tonight, ice tomorrow. Yeah, it is winter in Maine. We had that nice fall. It looks like we are finally getting our payback here in terms of messy weather. So yeah, we are closely monitoring Wednesday. Stay tuned. We'll keep you posted each day on what we're expecting in terms of wind speeds, in terms of the power outage potential, and in terms of the flooding rain potential as well. So stay tuned. And before we wrap up, I do want to bring up our snow map one last time here and go back to that just to talk about what we're expecting for tonight when it comes to the snow for tonight. I know a couple people are asking about that. Almost there, going backwards here, back to our snow map. There we go. And yes, most of us, if you're watching, Kimberly and Bridgeton, 2 to 4 inches there. Travis, if depending on where you are, as long as you're not right along the immediate coast, looks like 2 to 4 inches in most spots as well. So this is for tonight. Again, into tomorrow morning, I would expect to wake up and to see roads at least a bit slick out there. And again, we've got that icing potential tomorrow. So keep that in mind. With the ice potential, there also could be some slick travel. Yeah, out in Porter, it looks like 2 to 4 inches will do it for you, Travis. So yeah, for most of us, this is a 2 to 4 incher, very similar to what we saw yesterday. Should be pretty easy to manage. Same story in Gorham, Cheryl, 2 to 4 inches there on the west side of Portland. So yeah, there will be some snow. There will be some slick travel tomorrow morning. It's not a major deal. Wednesday into Wednesday night does look like it could be something more significant. So stay tuned. Hopefully this Grinch storm doesn't end up being as bad as it's looking on some of the models right now. And hopefully we can get through it without major power outages or major flooding or anything like that. But again, stay tuned. We will keep you posted. A lot going on in the weather this week, and stay safe out there as well. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of our quiet Monday. And hopefully everyone enjoys or gets through the snow without any issues tonight into tomorrow. So have a great one, everybody.
Live, interactive CBS 13 and Fox 23 Weather Authority coverage for your next Maine adventure has been sponsored by Rennie's.
Rennie's a Maine adventure.
Make sure to stay connected with CBS 13 and Fox.